Gordon Ryan, Nicky Rod, what a close fight. What, really? I mean, is that what you thought? And I've got to ask you about this, and I got to go back to this. Did you see it? Did you see the match and you came to the conclusion, boy, that sure was a close one. I can't wait till they go into part 3, and that could go either way. I would expect the line to be pretty close. I would love that if you did. I mean, I really would as a community. I wish that I am part of that. That would be fun. Gordon has gotten himself so good, and you feel as though you know how the movie is going to end before it comes. He's putting himself dangerously into the category of you're so good, I'm not going to watch you. It's a slippery slope. What do you do if you're Gordon? Lessen up and not be as good? I mean, truly, it's a slippery slope. And there is times in sport history where greatness is what you're selling. I lived through the 90s. There's a guy named Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan could dribble around any of them. And it didn't matter if he was playing guys that he could make look JV. It would sell out an arena to see that greatness. It's a hard time for me to give you examples like that, though. I went back to the 90s just to find that one. Also within the 90s, there was a boxer called Roy Jones Jr., and he was the best. Oh, he was good. All the pundits saw him as the best. All the athletes saw him as the best. His future opponents that were already signed to fight would say, I am fighting the absolute best. He was. Roy Jones in the 90s. And boy, I'm using a whole decade. What if I was doing this to you? What if I literally was over here making a piece about you, and I was telling the world that you were the best there was for one day? You'd feel pretty good, wouldn't you? I mean, you'd feel pretty good about yourself. The absolute best recognized as that 25 years later for that one day of my life. And you should feel good. That would be rare. He did it for 10 years. And he'd fight right now if somebody would pay him. He never put enough money away. He never had the big fight. Roy Jones did everything in the world except for have a massive fight. You've got to have an opponent for that. You have to have somebody, whether they compete with you or not, somebody that can make the world believe that they can. Anticipation is what creates dollars. Nothing else. Not excitement, not knockouts, not highlight reel, not any word that you could ever come up with created in the English language would trump anticipation for what creates money in this industry. Okay. I bring you those because there is a spot where Gordon is so clearly the best that I want to know, did you watch the match or are you repeating what you've heard when you tell me that it was close? Now, this was exciting for me. I'm a grappling fan, okay? I'm one of the few, but it was going to be Gordon versus Vinny. Now, that match has to happen, and that is the story that is going untold. The last person to beat Gordon Ryan is Vinny. I don't know if you've ever been told that, by the way. It kind of annoys me that that story isn't told more. It was supposed to be Gordon versus Vinny. Vinny ends up in an emergency room where he has to stay for a couple of days. That fight gets canceled. I'm not sure you guys knew that. You should have known that. And it's not your fault. The fact that the grappling world hasn't told that tale, it's a really interesting one. So finally, we're going to get this match. We're going to get it because the promoter made the match. Not a tournament, not like Abu Dhabi where those guys were scheduled in the same bracket, but let's see how it plays out. We're going to get Vinny and Gordon together. It's a big deal. And you want to know who would agree with me? Gordon. Gordon would say, man, there ain't a lot of things that keep me up at night. I would like to get that one back. So it's a big deal. It ends up not happening. We insert Nicky Rod. I'm just giving you some of the background. So Nicky Rod and Gordon go out there and they have a competition. Now, this is a little bit redundant. We've seen this. As a matter of fact, we just saw it. It was called the gold medal match at Abu Dhabi. Now, this is off the top of my head, but 2 minutes and 31 seconds. That's off the top of my head, but that's how long the match between Gordon and Nicky Rod was the last time we saw it. Oh, and by the way, it was for the World Championship. Big deal. Both guys bringing their A game, you would think. Now, that stunned me. Then it just surprised me. I was actually stunned. First off, Nicky Rod is a handful. He's a lot to deal with. But Nicky Rod and Gordon are former teammates. Every day, twice a day, they would feel one another. Now, when you have that kind of an opponent, it just lends to a long match. That guy, he just starts to know you. No matter how bad you're beating him or how many, it gets closer and closer just because of feel. I thought Nicky Rod and Gordon was going to be one of these situations where it was scheduled for up to 20 minutes. I thought we were going to get 20 minutes. Gordon turns out to be that damn good. Gordon versus Nicky, they're going to redo it. Now they're going to go under the Unified Rules of Grappling, which is EBI, and I got to give good for them. Everybody needs to pick the same rule set. I really thought this was a good move by the folks that put this event on. To go into the rules that we all understand, which are EBI, they got to the table first. If that hurts your feelings because you don't want Eddie Bravo to have the credit, that's the way life works. Whoever gets there first. He got there first. There's nothing wrong, but now we understand what's happening. Now we know exactly what we're looking at. We're going to get Nicky Rod versus Gordon, and it was a lot of what you would think. There wasn't a ton of attacks by Nicky. It looked as though the ability to make the match longer was a bit of a goal, a bit of a success. I've been there. I fully understood it. At least I think this is what I think, but I think I'm looking at something that I understand. We end up in overtime. Now, overtime, the guy is going to give you a position. Can he finish the position? Can you get out of the position? It's very calculated, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And when this thing comes to an end, and before I get to that, I got to tell you I was bothered. This was a very good referee. It really was. He really did a very good job. There's nobody when there's a camera involved. I've been on movies, I've been in commercials, stuff that you guys loved and stuff that you didn't even know was made. But I have never been on one of those sets where everybody there did not want to be the director. We will stand down and have to wait because somebody in craft services has an idea. And I don't begrudge this as much as I just recognize the phenomenon. It is nearly impossible to have something that gets put on camera where a person seen within the camera doesn't want to be the star. It's hard. It's a really hard thing. And it's something that you're not bigger than just because you identified it, like Chael did. How did Chael get to understanding this? Well, maybe Chael did it one time and is really embarrassed about it and just doesn't want to talk about it. Truly. Like this isn't something that somebody's bigger than. It's just a real thing. So now you have the referee that wants to be part of the show. And whenever you end up in that spot, you got to have a timeout and you got to pull him aside. You just got to. When the referee's popping on and he's got a hand signal to the audience, it doesn't matter what it is. You now have a problem on your hands. When we say so-and-so is refereeing this match and he gives whatever it is, you now have a problem. So we have a referee who did a very good job, who wanted to be part of the show. And that from Jump Street, that from 4 matches earlier when the match is going and the referee is telling the audience, the match is going. It's going right now. Where the guys are only encouraged to do 2 things, strangle one another and snap one of their limbs. Whether it's an arm or a leg, we really don't matter. It's a really, it looks like a family event, but if you read the rule set, boy, this is some serious business. And while this is the referee is telling the audience to cheer. You have a big problem. And this happened multiple times throughout the event where the referee was attempting to be part of the show. So you get into the main event that everybody's watching. You get the final position. You have Nicky Rod with what the announcers are screaming to the world is a very tight and precarious position. How would you know? How in the hell would you know because you're looking at something, the trouble that Gordon's in? They said this about Rickson Gracie. They said that Rickson would give you, you'd be a black belt, you could be mad, he would give you a choke, he would have his hands down, he would just give you his neck, you could put him in a choke, say go, but you couldn't tap him out. They said like he had a rubber neck. I didn't know that these things are true. I'm sharing with you folklore, but I am sharing with you. You also wouldn't know just by looking at it, but the announcers have assured the world that Gordon Ryan is in massive danger, massive amounts of trouble. Near moments from the king being dethroned. This is what we're told the audience, and then the time runs out. Now, if you think, okay, I know what happens then, they stop the position. No, you don't. That's where the drama begins. The time runs out, the position continues. The referee that was wanting to amp the crowd and do a number of things other than officiating a match, and that's just the truth. I know this guy's a nice guy, but I don't want him to be mad at me because I'm not giving him a hard time. This is what happened. The referee tried to become part of the show multiple times. The referee decided the audience was not cheering the way that they should. That is beyond dismissible behavior. Beyond. Whatever the line is that a referee could go, that is beyond. Any interaction and communication with the crowd is dismissible, but now you have a person who experts on the mic say is in real trouble. But time is out and you didn't stop it. So now Gordon, who is attempting to deal with Nicky Rod, attempting to get the victory and attempting to let the referee know that time is out, finally points. He takes his finger and he points to the clock. This still somehow doesn't get a clue. The referee, he still doesn't connect the dots. So you know what Gordon finally did? He finally tapped Nicky, let me go, time is out. So now, if you want to rework the story, particularly if you're watching it on mute, you have Gordon Ryan in a precarious position. You then have Gordon Ryan tapping out. You have now Nicky thinks that he's just kinged the throne. Don't interrupt me. You know it's been a long piece. But now time is out. So Gordon, who tapped out, turns out he saved on a technicality. The clock was actually expired before he tapped out. That's the way the story was told you. None of that happened. That's just not the truth. You don't know if Gordon was in trouble. I'm not telling you he wasn't in trouble. I'm not telling you Gordon was fine there at all. We don't know. We don't know. Time was out. Gordon was not saved on a technicality. Time was out. He stayed in the position. He did everything he could. He put the hand that he would need to defend if it was such a tight move, and he used it to point to a clock, which still didn't get. He finally told his old partner, you know time's out as well as I do. Let go of me. That's what happened. Maybe they'll rematch and maybe it will be closer. I thought it was a much more competitive match than Abu Dhabi. It looked like things for Team Nicky Rod were headed in the right direction. That's all fair stuff to say. But everything that I just said about time being elapsed, timekeeper that failed to communicate with a referee that failed to know that time was out, Gordon Ryan having to take the hand that he would have needed to stay alive, had the announcers been right and it was such trouble, took that hand and simply pointed. And then finally told the guy, man, let go of me. That's what really happened.